Hello, good evening. Welcome to my channel. Thank you, everyone who has been watching my channel, who have been supporting my channel. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. For those who subscribe, thank you also for the ones who have been watching my video and for the feedback. And I got a lot of feedback from really some wonderful people. And also, I've been talking about the cost of living. I will be talking about the cost of living as long as possible. I've been looking at different perspectives, and I said the problem of the cost of living was caused by capitalism, which is an economic system we are under now. And the government in the UK, the UK government is responsible for the cost of living in the UK, and governments elsewhere is responsible for the cost of living in respective countries because the government are operating as an extreme form of capitalism, and that is bad for the poor. The 20%, the lowest 20% of the population are actually suffering severely, especially in the developed world. But I believe it's also the case in the developing countries. And we need to understand the problems instead. If we are to solve any problem, we need to understand what is causing the problem. Like I said in the other videos, we need to be experts on capitalism being the cause of cost of living problem, and we also need to use every resources we have, mental capacity, emotional relationship to help. Believe the cost of living, like many crises, will pass away, but the reason I'm talking about the cost of living a lot because I believe the cost of living is a good opportunity for us to start changing the way we think, to start thinking how we work, whether we need to retrain, whether we need to access business, whether we need to do start charity organizations to help young people, to help those who are poor, very very poor, because level of poverty is different for everybody, and level of resilience is also different. Different people are different the way they solve different problems. So this video is an opportunity to discuss the cost of living and also use the crisis maybe to set your own business, to start doing research, look for grants, look for information, especially if you're in the UK. Also, even you're another country, look for information online, how to set up a small business, medium business. You can actually access training online to start learning how to manage, how to start a business. Maybe health and social care. If you can start maybe a nursing home, which is actually you don't need to be a medical doctor. If I understand it correct, leave a comment below if you think you need to be a medical doctor to start a nursing home. I don't think, because I know from here in the UK that some individuals I know personally have nursing homes, have nursing agencies. They are not medical doctors. They are not even nurses. Maybe they are nurses. Maybe they are care workers. At least health and care background. Being a doctor will help to improve your chances of succeeding in a business. Anything business really, because that's what capitalism means. Business. That's why it's important to talk to. To talk about it and talk to you about it, the capitalism, so that you are aware that this kind of help actually is a form of help, because information is a form of help to give an idea what is involved within capitalism, which is actually what we are under. What is actually people who are not prepared, who are not really capitalism compliant, are the ones suffering the most because of the cost of living. Wealthy people are actually well suited for capitalism, so accordingly, they are not really suffering the cost of living. And I also talked about globalization, because what is local and national is now global. So capitalism has gone global. Wherever you are, be an expert on capitalism, be an expert on business, be an expert on research, be an expert on customer service, building relationship, building contact, financial skills, managing debt. So I've been talking about this over and over. I've been repeating many things I'm saying. So in any of the video you watch, you're going to find more or less there's something I will be repeating deliberately, intentionally, because I'm I'm about to talk about everything now to set the background going forward. Not least because we are new, and right now I'm going to be looking at a material I have here about capitalism, but specifically because, like I said, there are different in terms of information. There are different elements of capitalism, and I've been looking at. If you look at most of my videos, I've been looking at different elements of capitalism. Is things you already know, and everything I'm talking about is normally what people already know. But I'm just drawing our attention, your attention to capitalism, particularly. Everybody knows capitalism because they live and breathe it every day. Going forward, I will be repeating other aspects of why the government is no longer helping people. You are helping yourself. I've said that a lot. I've said that probably more than enough. But I'm be easing myself progressively to trying to look at concrete suggestions how to solve the problem, really. Because if there is a problem, it has to be solved. And leave a comment below if you know the best way to deal with capitalism. With capitalism, if you if you want to deal with capitalism, that's fine. But meaning the cost of living, which is actually a crisis. Any crisis is actually a matter of priority. So you have to look at it first before you go on to doing some other things. So we are looking at something called welfare capitalism. Remember, in my other videos, I talk about welfare state. It's the same. Welfare state come from welfare capitalism, because the Western world have been operating capitalism for decades. Some aspect of capitalism is called state capitalism, which means the government intervene more in the economy. It's sometimes called mixed economy. Do a research and leave a comment below. Talk about something called economic interventionism and mixed economy. So where the government actually intervene in the economy alongside operating capitalistic economic system. Capitalism simply means capitalism in its pure form means it's an economic system divorced of the government intervention. That is there. You see the marketized idea of freedom from the state, and that is what we have now more of. And this is a reason mainly from right wing conservatism, which is often associated with capitalism as the more or even the most extreme. I mean, the more conservatism we have politically, the more extreme capitalism we have, the more crisis we have for the poor and the many, and the more wealth for the super rich and the few. That is the outlook. You need to really get that into your head, and in effect, it's also accompanied the less government intervention, the less the government is willing to help. Like I said, there are a lot of help in the UK from the government, but they are symbolic in the sense that this help, most of them are actually given through private companies, like energy companies, water companies, or some private companies. Now, conditions of accessing this help is almost impossible, and most of them are now online because online is cheap. It doesn't cost. The thing about technology is quite very cost effective. See, you don't want to hire a human being because a human being costs a lot of money to hire. Labor is extremely expensive because you need to pay your people well. You have to pay your workers well. And like I said previously, because of technology is going to take away work and employment. A lot of people will be really unemployed because of technology, and because instead of labor force, you're going to have technological force, and private businesses prefer technology because once you have actually invested in it as a capital or actually as part of an infrastructure, the running cost is almost zero. As long as it's an advanced form of technology, which is actually effective. So that's a good thing for businesses. And that's why things like, the internet, computers, these are examples of technological resources now doing most of the work being done by humans. You go to supermarket, shops, mainly machine now, banks, machine, even vehicles, buses, trucks, progressively they are now autonomous. They're self-drive. They drive themselves. Vehicle, machine drive themselves. Drone is operated still manually. But progressively it's going to be autonomous. Flying itself intelligently because they have artificial intelligence. So I've been talking about this aspect. I can't help but talk to them because you cannot talk about one without really emphasizing the other. They are so connected that they are very critical in why we are having the cost of living because the change, because of change. And change is good, but somebody has to pay the price. And so, going forward, understanding why crisis happen is critical for your survival. Some people, even if they're not careful, they're going to die. People have to be really careful when change happens. That's why sometimes you see wars in Ukraine. I don't even know why Russia is fighting Ukraine. The president of Ukraine is in the UK today. I didn't follow the news very very much because I was a bit busy. For probably tomorrow we'll find out what he what he came here to do. But politics. I don't know. Leave a comment below if you know what Zelensky, president of Ukraine, came to the UK to do. The UK the UK are Ukraine's ally, so that means they're enemies to Russia. But don't take my word for it because I've seen politicians behaving really in funny ways. Because they are friends with Ukraine today, tomorrow they may be friends with Russia also. So when you see politicians quarreling, stay away. Okay, listen to what they're saying, but you have to concentrate on your life, especially under capitalism, because in the past, we know the government used to help us intervene in the economy to improve, to strengthen employment, welfare benefit, hospitals, schools, school meals, school uniforms. Now most of these things, most local authorities now don't really give help. The help is advertised. I think it's just for public relations to make people happy. to make people feel, because it is only 20% actually, maybe 10 or even less, need such help. People still work, but it's changing very quickly. That's why I'm talking about it. It's changing very fast. In the next 5 to 10 years, most people will be out of work, and people will really, really be in a bad way. So, if you have a job, you have to keep your job. To do your best. Do training if you have time, because if you are needed, you are kept. I mean, if you're doing some work, make sure maybe you have to improve. Find out what kind of skill you need to upgrade. Because if you have many skills, employer may be most likely to keep you, even if they are laying off. Laying off means they're sending you home. They are firing you. They are actually sacking you. So welfare capitalism is capitalism that includes social welfare policies. Like I just say that social welfare policies. That's when you get housing, you get hospital, you get schools. So social welfare policy has been really, really helpful. But what he has done, he has stabilized capitalism. And now with technology and more wealth, they're going back to real capitalism. Today, welfare capitalism is most often associated with the models of capitalism found in central mainland and northern Europe, such as the Nordic model, social market economy, and Rhine capitalism. So northern Europe, the Rhinelands, the Nordic, so you still find traces of it, but the UK is leading the way. The big powers are leading the way to bring transformation. France, Germany, America, they're all doing the same thing. They're actually, you know, uh, you see, when the structure of society, because there's a lot of wealth in the UK. The UK is the sixth richest economy. People don't feel poverty. I mean, if I sit here and talk about poverty, people will think something is wrong with me. Because people don't really believe there is a problem. A lot of people don't feel problem. There are a lot of middle classes. About 50% of the population are middle class. And the poor, maybe 10, 15%, those who are really feeling the pinch. That's why the government is relaxed. Because what happens next door with your neighbor is not your business. We are individualistic society. We are individualistic society across the globe, especially in Europe, America, in the West, and in the Eastern world. The most developed nations are individualistic. You can see your neighbor fighting on the street. The best advice is don't get involved. If you find people fighting, do not get involved in this country, in the UK. And in most countries, just walk away. Let them fight. You don't know who they are. You don't know why they are fighting. You don't know what they're going to do to you. If you get involved, they can kill you. And you don't even know them. And they might stop fighting. Maybe they are best friends. They're just acting funny. They're just fighting. People here can fight anytime. And that's why I talk about the cultural economy. People just fight for no reason. And they just like, the next day, they're like, it's as if they didn't even fight. They might have been wounded themselves. Sometimes seriously. Maybe they have actually stabbed each other. And one of the friends might be in the hospital. And maybe one of the friends might even be dead in a mortuary. The police may be involved, but it is actually best friends, the so-called best friends. And it's a cultural problem across the globe. People are always fighting senselessly. So don't get involved, because in this country especially, people are strangers. I think in Africa now also, the culture is being harmonized under globalization. So what happens in Europe, in the UK, is happening across the globe, including Africa. Africa is changing. Africa is becoming like Europe. more than Europe becoming like Africa. Because you see, the more dominant your culture is, the more people start behaving like America, Europe, and developed country, the West especially, because of culturally, things like Hollywood movies, expensive car, posh things. I mean, people are attracted to this kind of thing, and the world begin behaving a bit like the Europeans. I speak English. I'm not English. I'm African. I learned English at school. I have to learn it and speak it as best as I can. Otherwise, I don't get anything from anywhere. Especially if you're in Africa, maybe if you're European, European languages have similar strengths. But because of the US and Europe, where everyone speaks English, Australia, South America, South Africa, and also Africa in the Middle East in Israel, most people speak English. That makes English the most powerful language in the world. Everybody should know it. The Chinese are learning English now. So the culture, the political culture is the culture. The cultural bias is in favor of the English. So we are individuals. That's why the culture we are coping. We are becoming individualistic, which means you help yourself more than even helping your friends. And so that was the value of mixed economy. But mixed economy is being transformed. See, the government talk of transformation a lot. Every government, European government, they talk about transformation. They talk of improvement. Improvements, they mean one thing only is privatization. Selling of everything, because it's the best way to move to the right, um, or political behavior and culture, as well as actually going to the extreme end of capitalism, is to close down the public sector. The best way to close down the public sector is to stop funding it. It's not rocket science. People need to really get this logic. The way the government doesn't want to spend on the public sector because it has to close down so that capitalism takes over. Because capitalism will remain mixed. I mean, if you mix two things, it doesn't work very well. They want it to be perfect, but you see, incidentally, the more perfect operationally capitalism is, the more it is that the rich will be richer, the poor will be going to be richer. It comes with the territory. That's why people need to pay attention and understand what is really going on and really adjust. A mixed economy is largely market based. Capitalist economy is consisting of both private and public ownership of the means of production and economic interventionism through macroeconomics policy intended to correct market failures, reduce unemployment, and keep inflation low. So we talk about inflation currently in the UK. Inflation is a major problem. The entire economic maneuvering, if you like, is now based on actually controlling inflation, and also to control inflation. And actually, the argument is that that will actually improve growth. And growth, like I said in the other video, means growth of wealth. Incidentally, when wealth grow under capitalism, what happens is that this wealth is not distributed because we are actually under the extreme form of capitalism operationally, and also in culturally, also in terms of economic culture, and um, that also mean that also mean um, that actually also means the poor are getting poorer, the rich are getting richer. Because with growth, as good as growth is, It grows wealth for the few and not for the many. And marketized capitalism, like we discussed in the other videos. A social market economy is a free market or a mixed market capitalist system, sometimes classified as a coordinated market economy, where government intervention in price formation is kept to a minimum, but the state provides significant services in areas such as social security, healthcare, unemployment benefits, and the recognition of labor rights through national collective bargaining arrangement. That's what I said about employment and things like social security, the money government give for help, and hospital and all that. So the government intervening when they say coordinated intervention, a market coordinated government economy, which means it is managed. Coordination means management. These are managed aspect of capitalism, the market economy. Now, these are features of a capitalism, or what you call social capitalism, where the state intervene into the capitalistic economy using social policy objectives, including hospital, yeah, schools, and things like that. And that makes it actually moderate and helping more people who are in need, children, disabled, single parents. So capitalism is good, creates wealth, but it needs the government to intervene socially, so as to provide these other things, schools, which are affordable, transport, which are affordable, food, which are affordable, energy, which is affordable. All these are actually social policy objectives, which had been happening for the last decades. But now, because the government is withdrawing this, that's why the cost of living is happening. The government is closing down the social aspect of capitalism, which provide stability for wages, and how much people are paid, employment rights. When they talk of labor rights, they talk about employment rights, unfair dismissal, issues like that, pension, and probation periods. Um, all these ties in within employment is part of social policy, and also collective bargaining, like trade union interventions with the support of the government. These are all funded. All these activities are funded by the government to actually implement social policy to modify market economic system, as always, also known as capitalism. But that has changed. It has been reformed. It has been restructured. And from going from left to right means extreme form of capitalism. I mentioned this in the other videos. Watch it if you have the time. And be an expert on this subject. Go and do a research and do as much as you can, including, if you like what I'm talking about, pay attention to it and also listen to what I'm talking about. And try to enjoy it. I know it's a difficult topic, it can be depressing, but that's not my intention. My intention is to provide enlightenment, also to get feedback so that I also learn from you. Learning from you is more important to me because the more knowledge I have, the more I can look after myself. But I have the privilege of doing this research and sharing the information with you. This is part of my contribution to helping on the cost of living. Going forward, I will be doing more, talking more in the UK. But if you want to know something, if you're living in a different country, let me know. Leave a comment below. If you can talk about your country, how the cost of living can be alleviated as a short-term program support, and also as having to deal with the crisis which people face, because it's reasonable. for people to deal with the immediate problem. A lot of the thing I'm talking about is going to be medium and long term. But I say this because it's as we are doing everything in your power to get on with your life, preparing for the future so that you actually can deal with the crisis a bit more. And also, if I'm talking on this channel and you enjoy it, try to do the most, make the most of the enjoyment process. Because learning doesn't have to be tedious, or even dealing with problems doesn't have to be really dull or anything. I mean, I mean, put some music in the background while watching it, this video, so that you don't get really depressed. Because if you talk about problems, can be depressing, but problem are to be dealt with because it's not going to go away. You can really pretend it is not happening, but it has to be. I mean, you have to face the real world. Ryan capitalism is the contemporary model of capitalism and adaptation of the social market model that exists in continental Europe, Western Europe today. Continental Western Europe, like the Rhine. If you know the geography of Europe, let me know. Leave a comment below. The Rhine and Northern Europe is part of the main Europe. When we talk of continental Europe, we talk about the mainland Europe. Because Britain, for example, is an island, and the mainland Europe, actually the continental Europe, Western Europe, and some part of the economic structure is still evolving, but be informed that that is temporary because the more wealth, the more development with technology, knowledge, wealth, we are going to get bigger and bigger in terms of wealth. And the more wealth we have under capitalism, the more we are going to move away towards full-blown market economic system, which is what I've been talking about. Which is the stress now. A lot of people are now feeling the trouble with the cost of living, but potentially it's going to get worse if you're not prepared. So we are going to talk in the next video. We're going to talk about state capitalism. I'll see you in the next one. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Thank you if you have subscribed, if you have actually shared. Thank you. Bye bye.